covering sections 3.4 to 3.6.
Moving on to section 3.4 on solving inequalities using addition or subtraction. Moving on to some definitions.
The first term is inequality. An inequality is a statement formed by placing an inequality symbol between two expressions. For example, y plus 5 is less than or equal to negative 6 is an inequality.
Second, the solution of an inequality is a set of odd numbers that produce true statements when substituted for their variable. You can show the solution of an inequality by graphing the inequality on a number line. When you graph an inequality of the form x is greater than a or x is less than a, use an open circle at a. When you graph an inequality of the form x is greater or equal to a, or x is less than or equal to a, use a closed circle a.
Next, we have some inequalities here and a description of how to graph them. So for the first one, x is less than 2, all numbers less than 2 should be the solutions for this inequality, and in this case you would use an open circle because there is no equal sign beneath the inequality symbol. For the second one, same thing, x is greater than 2, all numbers greater than 2 should be marked as solutions on the graph using an open circle. For the third one, x is less than or equal to 2, all numbers less than or equal to 2 should be graphed using a closed circle because there is an option of equal to. Similarly, for the fourth one, x is greater than or equal to 2, all numbers greater than or equal to 2 should be graphed on the number line using a closed circle.
Next, moving on to some example problems. Solve the inequality. First is x plus 8 is greater than 9. We can subtract 8 by both sides and get a final answer of x is greater than 1.
For the second inequality, 10 is greater than or equal to x plus 16. 16 can be subtracted from both sides to get negative 6 is greater than or equal to x.
Next, x plus 8 plus 23 is less than or equal to 50. And by adding 8 and 23, we get x plus 31 is less than or equal to 50. Ultimately, by subtracting 31 on both sides, we get a final answer of x is less than or equal to 19.
Next, we have tell whether the given number is a solution of 6 is less than n plus 7. So this inequality of 6 is less than n plus 7 can be changed into negative 1 is less than n by subtracting 7 from both sides. Looking at all the answer options from A to F, we can see that A is an answer because it is greater than negative 1. B is not because negative 6 is less than negative 1. This is the same for C. Negative 8 is less than negative 1, so it cannot be an answer. D is an answer because 18 is greater than negative 1. E is not an answer because negative 18 is less than negative 1. And F is an answer because 23 is greater than negative 1. So for this problem, A, D, and F would be the answers.
Moving on to section 3.5 on solving inequalities using multiplication or division. First, moving on to definitions. The multiplication property of an equality is multiplying each side of an inequality by a positive number, which produces an equivalent equality, and multiplying each side of an equality by a negative number, and reversing the direction of the inequality symbol, which produces an equivalent equality.
Next, we have example problems. So m over 3 is greater than 3. Multiplying 3 to both sides, we can get m is less than 9. Or sorry, m is greater than 9. We made a mistake here.
And moving on to the next problem, n divided by 6 is greater than 7. n divided by 6 times 6 on both sides brings a final answer of n is greater than 42.
Next, we have the division property of inequality. So dividing each side of an inequality by a positive number produces an equivalent inequality. Dividing each side of an inequality by a negative number and reversing the direction of the inequality symbol produces an equivalent inequality. Next, we have some example problems.
First, negative 10t is greater than 34. We can first divide negative 10 on both sides and ultimately get a final answer of t is less than negative 3.4.
Next, we have n over negative 3 is greater than 5. Multiplying by negative 3 on both sides, we get n is less than negative 15. Remember here, we flipped the inequality symbol because we are multiplying by a negative number.
Lastly, moving on to section 3.6 on solving multi-step inequalities. First, moving on to example problems.
X over negative 4 is greater than negative 5. Multiplying by negative 4 on both sides, we get x is less than 20.
Second, 19 is greater than x over 90 minus 25. We can add 25 to both sides and get x divided by 90 is less than 44. And finally, we'll get a final answer of x is less than 3,960 by multiplying 90 on both sides.
Lastly, we have negative 3x minus 3 is less than 2x minus 83. By adding 3 to both sides and subtracting 2x from both sides, we can get negative 5x is greater than negative 80. Actually, sorry, here it's supposed to be negative 5x is less than negative 80. Then dividing by negative 5 on both sides, we can get x is less than 16. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in the next video on sections 4.1 to 4.4.
Bye.
Bye.